Hello, everyone, and welcome to Recipe for Reality. Our
Here we are.
19th week or episode doing this. I mean, not
Something.
week because we skipped some weeks here and there, but we're gonna be back to the weekly method because we got Survivor coming back this week on Wednesday. Very exciting, season 42. We will, of course, as you saw from the thumbnail, get to the cast and analyzing it, trying to figure out who we are picking as our winners and vice versa. But first, we are going to talk about some Bachelor and Amazing Race stuff because those seasons, one of them is coming to an end and one of them has come to an end. But Zach, how are you doing? First and foremost, Zach Love, co-host, how are you doing?
I'm good. My life is slowing down a tiny bit right now.
Okay,
So I get to finally get home and
mm-hmm.
watch some TV and not just catch myself up on stuff, but to actually experience it as it's happening, which will be nice.
Yeah.
And I'm good. It's a cool time of year. We got Survivor, we got casting going on for Big Brother, Amazing Race. We got, we're coming up on the end of a Bachelor season, which means that we got Bachelorette right around the corner, which means a Bachelor in Paradise. It's a good time of year to be a reality TV fan.
Yeah, it's interesting because I feel like we always judge the seasonal aspect based on CBS shows, like when they start and end. Like we just got the end of Amazing Race, we're getting the start of Survivor, and then in June we're going to get the end of Survivor and the beginning of Big Brother, and then Big Brother will be the end of Big Brother, the beginning of Survivor, end of Survivor, beginning of Amazing Race. So it's like CBS just really keeps us on track on what to focus.
They've got it down to a science at this point. Yeah. They're a little bit more on the ball. They didn't have to stop a lot of stuff for COVID, so they didn't have that kind of halting process. They were able to, they were lucky that COVID no one was lucky.
Amazing Race had a big hiatus, but they at least got back into finishing a season, and Survivor got 2 seasons wrapped and finished in the COVID era. Hopefully we're now hitting that post-COVID era where now they could just go back to hopefully 39-day seasons, just because I like the 21-day season, but it does feel a little too fast-paced to the point where I don't want to see all double boot episodes every few episodes like we were seeing last time. But we'll talk about that in a little bit. Let's reserve the first 10 or 15 minutes on the other 2 shows just because there are people who tune in to hear about that. But if you are here for Survivor stuff, go maybe 20 or so minutes forward in this video and then you'll be able to hear our assessments. But let's start with Amazing Race because Amazing Race wrapped. Let's pull up the graphic here. Kim and Penn, a victorious win. I did win, but only by 2 points. So you were definitely closer on Arun and Natalia's placement, on Lulu and Lala's placement, and definitely not on Michael and Mo's placement, but neither was I. I think the real definitive
I trusted them.
The definitive thing there was you putting Raquel and Kayla 2 spots lower than they placed and Ryan and Dusty 2 spaces higher than they placed, which is really where I kind of got some ground and made up a point for each of them. And I think that's really what it came down to. So overall, a very close match between the 2 of us. But I did come out victorious. I think in our first one of these. I don't think I've ever won one of these, so I'm very happy.
I was going to say, I think I'm 2 for 3. You're 3
you won the Survivor game.
Yeah,
you won the Survivor game. You definitely won. I mean, we're not sure about Bachelor because we could both win Bachelor because here's Bachelor, which we'll get to in a bit. But you definitely won Dancing with the Stars, I think, as well. It's okay. We'll figure it out.
And I won Big Brother. I won the Big Brother one.
Of course. And we don't want to talk about that because I I mistakenly put Todrick in 8th place and Misha in 11th. And it's one of those things where this was a foreseen ending once that cheese challenge hit and Ryan and Dusty just kept getting third place, and then a non-elimination leg right before the finale. I think it was very clear from then on that it would be either Kim and Penn or Raquel and Kayla. And I think the thing with Raquel and Kayla is they hadn't started winning legs till the very end. Now, it's all about how you finish. So, I went into the finale thinking it was going to be Raquel and Kayla because I think they were just hitting their stride at the right point. But it ended up coming down to that one challenge. Raquel and Kayla were in the lead for that entire finale until the very last challenge. Kim and Penn get one thing quicker, and they are able to get there in a matter of minutes. It's one of the closest finishes I've seen. So, very exciting finale. There's not really a lot to talk about because it was very straightforward. Arun and Natalia were going to get 4th. Ryan and Dusty were not going to reach the other 2 teams because they had started to plateau a bit. It really was just a matter of which of those 2 teams would win. And I was just thinking by the edit that it would be Raquel and Kayla because they kept pushing the whole, we're going to be the 3rd all-women team to win or the 4th all-women team to win, 3rd to win on their first time because I forget their names. Keisha and Jen, I think their names are, won on their second go on the redemption season.
Right.
So they'd be the third all-female team to win on their first try. And then, Ryan and Dusty had the whole story with Ryan. And then Arun and Natalia had the fact that they had 9 lives. So, I think everyone had a narrative except for Kim and Penn.
Right.
Kim and Penn were just the most solid team. So, I think it just ended up being CBS really couldn't give them an edit because they were just kind of normal, but I don't think that's a bad thing. They ended up being the oldest couple to ever win the race, so I think that's something which I wish they had pushed more throughout the season, just story wise. But I think we still got to know them well, and I'm very happy to see them win, and especially him giving Kim so much credit at the end too, and saying how much she overcame with her anxiety was really, really nice. But Zach, do you have any thoughts on this finale, on these winners?
I might be about to sneeze. Nope, it's passed.
Oh.
So I actually. I'm really happy because I think that CBS, the cool thing about CBS shows is that you either are going to have a really, really, you're either rooting for everybody or you're rooting against one team fervently. And I love, this season was so good because by the time we kind of knew that Arun and Natalia, unless there was a huge upset, we knew that Arun and Natalia were probably going out fourth. And by the end, I was like, I'm cool with any 3 of these. I would love for Ryan and Dusty to win just because, I picked them as my winners.
And they almost kind of became the underdogs at the end, which is kind of weird. Yeah, because this whole time they were the top dogs. Yeah.
And even going back to that, watching them fight their way through the No Stone Unturned. Because I don't even think we ever got to talk about that on this show.
Well, that happened. I believe it happened the episode before the finale, so the non-elimination leg, because that's what sunk Ryan and Dusty.
We haven't been able to talk yet about
that challenge.
But, I felt terrible for them. But what I loved is that was such a humanizing episode for all 4 teams.
Yeah.
So that by the time we got here, it would have been great for any of them to win. I did not like Kim and Penn in the beginning, and I ended up falling in love with them. And Raquel and Kayla became my one of my favorite teams on a CBS show of all time. I adore them. I think that they're great. Back when I'd love to see them on I'm picking something up. Sorry. I'd love to see them on a different show now. I'd love to either watch them come back and play on the race again, or I'd love to watch them go in the house. I'd love to watch them go on the island. I think what I loved about this finale more than anything was a deserving team won, and I got 3 teams of people who I'd love to watch play either again or on another show because that was how good they were in this realm.
I think Ryan and Dusty could be Survivor players someday. I think Raquel and Kayla could be Big Brother players one day.
Agreed.
I saw Justin, who came in second place on I forget which season, but Justin and Diana, they won so many legs and then came in second in the end. It was kind of a heartbreaking loss just because they had won so many legs. But he was like, "You should put Big Brother. You never see any Amazing Racers on Big Brother." And someone was like, "Yes, you did, Jeff and Jackie." But the problem is that Jeff and Jackie were so unmemorable that it's like,
they flopped so early. They flopped so early.
But then you look at Survivor, and Natalie and Nadia went on Survivor from The Amazing Race, and Natalie wins. Nadia's the first boot, and Natalie wins, which was a really interesting coincidence that the first boot and the winner came from the same season. Then Natalie came back on a winner's season and came in second. So I think the Amazing Race players do have good track records on Survivor, not as much Big Brother, but I think it'd be interesting to see more crossover, especially because we've had so many Big Brother players on The Amazing Race. We've had Jeff and Jordan, we've had Brandon and Rachel, we've had Jessica and Cody, we've also had a lot of survivors on The Amazing Race. We had Boston Rob and Amber on The Amazing Race. So I think it's really one of those things where I think we see more crossover into The Amazing Race rather than vice versa, Amazing Race into one of the other shows. But I would love to see these players come back, even like Arun on like a Big Brother would be fun.
Oh
he was great TV. He really was. And him with the little rowboat was hilarious. You took my boat. Like I really love those little moments, and I think this was just a very well-rounded cast. And I think the problem with this season is just the COVID-ness of losing 4 teams due to COVID. Because
you don't get to know how things actually shake out.
Like Anthony and Spencer could have been winners of this race, but never got the shot because they couldn't come back after the hiatus. And then I think just in general, the editing of the season, because you only had 7 couples come back and 2 of them had already been eliminated, the non-elimination legs started to get a little tolling, a little taxing, a little tiring. But I think overall they edited it the best they could.
Right. I agree.
Yeah. So should we move on to Bachelor, which you've been very vocal in not liking the editing of, but I will say I think it's gotten better.
Things have turned around.
We've gotten to the final three, which I will show because you predicted them. Gabby, Rachel, and Susie. I think it's very clear that Gabby, Rachel, and Susie were the front runners when we saw like that final 8, just because, you know, Genevieve was quiet, and we'll talk about Genevieve in a sec because that moment was a little icky. I'll like to talk about Sarah. We knew she was going to become the new villain. Teddy just hadn't gotten the big edit, and it felt like her big episode was the episode of her coming out about her virginity. And then Serene, who we didn't really see preseason being a big threat, but Serene really started to show a lot more of her personality. But then at Hometowns, I think it became very clear that Serene's family was just not gelling with Clayton very much. My roommate Landon, who hadn't watched the season, was watching that episode with me and was very much like, yeah, that family is not clicking with him at all. And I think it's very evident that, like, a good relationship, yes, it has to be between the two people first and foremost, but it also has to be with their families. You have to be able to gel with their family, and there was just not gelling with Serene's brother and him. But let's start with just the week before, because that's where we get the Sarah meltdown and Genevieve's blindside. And I call it a blindside because I think no one expected to go into this date, A, to have a therapy session on camera, and B, being sent home for not opening up because they didn't want to have a therapy session on camera. I felt really bad for Genevieve, and I think she's one person I'd love to see go on Paradise, because I feel like she's someone from the beginning. I have said she's so quiet, and I think that's what a lot of people are going to be endeared to, but I think the producers wanted her to open up, and Clayton was just like, well, you're not opening up, and it's an excuse to get rid of her. But I don't like the idea of sending someone home just because they don't want to have a therapy session while the cameras are rolling and millions of people are watching. I think she was done a little dirty with that.
Yeah, I just think the therapy dates are a little tiring. I think they're a really good, I mean, the good thing is they're a really great COVID date, because you get the girls in a room together like they already are, and you don't have to worry about anything really extraneous.
Yeah.
But they, you know, it's just like it's to ask someone to open up in front of a lot of people is really difficult in and of itself. To ask someone to open up about like their deepest secrets for the sake of trying to win love is even weirder. I agree with you. I think she was done a little dirty. I think she's someone who was a front runner up until that moment, and there's no reason that she shouldn't have remained a front runner given the situation that she was put in.
Yeah, I think we knew just all after the Shanae elimination that Genevieve, like, that was her purpose, and like, because afterwards she really wasn't getting much of an edit. But I agree with you. The therapy date when it's all the girls is okay, because it's just them kind of like with each other. You know, these girls have a good bond. But when it's just you, Clayton, a therapist, and a camera, it becomes a little awkward, and I could see where that made Genevieve feel uncomfortable. So I don't shame her for that.
Right.
Then Teddy goes home, which just ends up being next Sarah goes home, which was a big thing. We already kind of knew she was getting the villain turn. I don't know how much the tears were actually put on or not. She claims they're not. I think it's just her youth. I think they needed, honestly, the producers needed to point at another villain, and she just seemed to be the one who was the fakest. So I get why that happened. Honestly, it just made it a lot easier for him to narrow it down, because I think at this point he likes all these girls, and it's like he really has to nitpick to figure out exactly how he wants to send these girls home. So I get him sending home Sarah. We kind of knew that was coming. And then Teddy just being the fifth one of a group of 4 that he was just a lot closer to. And I think even Serene going home being just slightly behind the other 3. Now, the other 3, I think it's an even playing field. I think this week Gabby's hometown made her much more of a front runner. I think Susie's didn't stand out as much as Rachel's and Gabby's. And I think Rachel's always just been kind of the top, but I really don't know between these 3. But do you have anything else to say just about Teddy or Sarah or these final 3 in their hometowns?
I love the final 3. I'm glad I picked them. I mean, you know, we don't have to harp on it too much, but like Genevieve's dad's moment was really sweet. I think that's one of the best
Rachel's
moments.
Dad, you mean? Or Gabby's dad?
No, or Gabby's dad. Gabby's dad.
Yeah.
Damn.
Oh yeah.
Gabby's dad.
The Love Actual
with Gabby's
side.
dad.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. I mean, you know, that's why I say things are turning around, because now we're in the romance. Now we're in the actual like end game of it all, and now we get to finally also see like the tiring annoyingness of the you know. Yeah, we get to see that kind of disappear. Not disappear, but like we don't have to deal with like waiting on it anymore.
But I'm excited to see it. Like that's what I've been waiting the whole season to see, because it's Fantasy Suites next week. We know he sleeps with at least 2 of them, and we know he's very vocal about it, and we know that a lot of the girls are not fans of it. So I'm really excited to see. I'm not excited. But I'm looking forward to seeing what happens, because it's going to be crazy.
I'm predicting a Rachel win I am, just because I thought that like they spent a lot of time on that hometown, focusing on the dad and what's going on. And I feel like they did the opposite with Gabby, where they didn't focus as much on her dad. And then when he came in, it was heartbreaking. I feel like they're setting her up to be a next Bachelorette, which I would love to watch.
See, I thought it was the opposite. I thought they gave both of them a lot, but I think it was a lot more about him trying to win over Rachel's dad, whereas it was more about Gabby and her dad. It was less about Clayton with Gabby. It was more about Gabby.
That's what I mean.
Herself.
That's what I mean. But I think we're going to see a Gabby
lot about her dad.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. When I say like, oh, we didn't get as much, I mean we didn't get as much like intimacy when it came to Gabby. I think Gabby's got a real nice setup for like a Bachelorette, and now people are calling for it. I will say, like, I've watched it throughout the week in terms, and I go on YouTube and I watch other people's thoughts too. And I'm going to give a shout out to Bachelor Fantake, who also is just in the hospital with the blood clot in his lung.
Oh, shoot.
So
hope he's okay.
Good. Hope he's doing better, clearly. But so I was, I've been watching, and he has a really great theory about how he thinks Susie, and I won't go into it. You should go watch his video. But he has a really great theory about how he thinks Susie self-eliminates. And based on her edit recently, I kind of have to agree. I think, or not that she self-eliminates. I was really pulling for like a Susie Bachelorette or even a Susie win, and I'm starting to kind of not feel that way. Just with the great edit that Gabby's been getting. They've all been getting great edits, but there's been a very centralized focus on both Gabby and Rachel, and I think Susie is just losing out on that moment.
Yeah, I think
unless she's one of the people he sleeps with.
I think the most obvious comparison is going to be Peter's season, because that was a season where we were all very much 100% in on Maddie, but then Maddie is the one who self-eliminates, and then it ends up being Hannah Ann, who we didn't really get a lot of time with. I don't think any of these three are Hannah Ann, though. I feel like if he ends up with either of these three, we know them all so much, and it makes a lot of sense. And then the third person there, who was it? Because Victoria got fourth, right? I forget who the other the person.
Kelly.
No, Kelly wasn't. Kelly didn't make hometowns.
5. She was like 5 or 6.
Kelly was like 5th. I forget who.
Victoria, Hannah Ann, Maddie, and
Anyway, while I ponder that, while I think about it, but I think it's one of those scenarios where I could see him like just ending up with one and then going for the other. I think it's going to be some weird ending, like because we know Hannah Brown's season ending was weird because it was like she was with Jed and then left, but then she didn't end up with anyone. That's the thing. But I think with Peter, it was he ended up with Hannah Ann, didn't end up with her, and then ended up with Maddie, or vice versa. I don't really remember exactly what went down. I tried to block that out of my memory just because it's like that season, it just wasn't great. So yeah, it's really going to be unpredictable, and I like that about this, is that like I don't have a real front runner. I think the edit is leaning more toward Gabby, but I think Clayton himself is making it sound more and more like Rachel. But again, Susie, I just feel like they gave her so much the last few episodes that like I could be her too, with the whole dress shop and buying the dresses, and then she feels like the Blake Moynes here, where it's like she was the one with the moment where she asked him out on her own date. I just feel like I'm getting Blake Moynes vibes, whereas like, but she could be a Greg too, where she leaves. I really don't know, and I like that about this season. I like that I don't know, because other seasons it's been very obvious. Like Matt James, it was very obvious Rachel was going to win that season. Even like Hannah Brown, it was obvious it was going to be either Tyler or Jed. I mean, it went a completely different direction than we all thought, even though it ended up not being Jed at all. I thought it was always going to be Tyler Cameron, but it's always hard to predict, especially because spoilers sometimes leak out and they sometimes give you the final 2, but they rarely give you the final 1 correctly, especially because so many of them end with a twist, like Peter's season, like Hannah Brown's season. The only straightforward season recently has been Michelle's. And I think that's why it was so boring.
I mean, I think that overall, this season has had a real nice upswing in the last half. It took a long time to get here, but now that we're here, I'm happy about it.
Yeah, I am too.
I still don't like the producers. I'm still mad at you. If you
and
see
we're gonna
this,
get more Shanae next week, so don't watch the Women Tell All, because I guarantee it'll be just filled with
God. But that's, you know what, I like that I feel more connected to Clayton now, because I feel like he's actually having a hand in what's going on. And he, like, getting to see him meet the families is really interesting. I think it just, like, and this is like, I'll say this is my final thought on everything.
Yeah.
I love the final 3. I love the way that this is going. I even really ended up loving Serene as well. I thought she was great.
Yeah.
And I thought it was heartbreaking to see her family be like, oh my God, he loves you. And for her to say that she loves him and then to have her be the one sent home.
Yeah.
What will always just kind of drive me crazy about this season is that it just feels, it was my problem with Matt James's season 2, is that I just still don't feel like I know him. And I'm excited because I'm rooting for the final 3. I'm rooting for Rachel, Susie, Gabby, but I'm not rooting for Clayton to find love. I'm rooting for one of them to find love.
Right. Which makes me think maybe he won't end up with anyone. Like, I really don't know.
Right.
We haven't seen a ring in the promos, so I really don't know if he's going to end up with anyone.
And a lot of people have said, again, it's big Bachelor producer, like creator of the show, Mike Fleiss. Mike Fleiss, that's it. Mike Fleiss. I couldn't remember his name the last episode. He keeps teasing that like nobody could possibly know the ending because of X, Y, or Z. Jesse, not Jesse Eisenberg, which is the name in my head. Jesse, what's his face? Our host Jesse, Jesse Palmer. He has teased that like this ending is very different and it's not really like any other ending. And that just really screams nothing good happens to me. And I'm like, oh, great. We're going to end with another season of someone not falling in love or like him losing everyone. And he ends up with one of them and, they're just not engaged.
It was Champagne Bottle Kelsey, by the way. She came in 4th.
Victoria
F was in 3rd.
And that
ended up being Maddie and Hannah Ann. He went for Hannah Ann, and then Hannah Ann and him had broken up after the final rose. He tried it with Maddie. They decided not to have a relationship. Then he started dating Kelly. That was craziness. Barb was crazy on that season too. His mother. God. But speaking of crazy, let's go into Survivor because the monster's back, as Jeff Probst keeps saying, which I'm sorry, but hyping it up as a monster, it hasn't really been anything different than anything we've ever seen, except for the fact that it's a faster paced season and more diverse season, which is a good thing. Good monster. But anyway,
good monster.
Same old Survivor. We're back. It's going to be fun to talk about this cast now that we know who the 18 players are and the tribes are. I'm going to go just based on what Entertainment Weekly has. In order of the players, and then at the end, I want to show just the 3.
I've ranked. I've spent my time.
Oh, you've already done it.
So
great.
I've ranked. I'm ready to go.
Cool. And then we've also got. I just have pictures of the tribes themselves, just so we can see the dynamics, because I think that could also play into just power rankings. But I just want to remind everyone going into it what the format was last season, because it's probably going to be similar. So the first episode, if it goes the same way, we're going to get 1 team winning and 2 boots, 1 from each tribe. So that's just something I'm keeping mind of. Then the next 4 weeks are pretty straightforward. Then the episode 6 and 7 Hourglass, if it comes back, that'll be interesting to see if it comes back. And then the 12th place person will be the last person gone before the jury. Jury starts in episode 8. Episode 9, we got that weird thing where the final 10 was split up in 5 and 5, and they each voted someone out. That's where we lost Nasir and Evie. So that if that happens again, that's just something to take into account too. And then 8th place, 7th place was the do or die. It is coming back this year. I don't know if it's coming back at 7th at the round where there's final 7 or not, or if it's going to be earlier or later. And then we get one more episode before the finale, and that finale was 8 people. This could be different this season, but This is the kind of template that I went on when I was making my rankings, just to be like making sure the 18th and 17th place weren't on the same tribe, and then making sure the 7th place person was someone that could go out with a do or die, or vice versa. And then the 10th and 9th place people, that's the only thing to keep in mind of just making the rankings. But you already have your ranking, I already have mine. Should we talk? Let's talk about the cast first, and then we will do a ranking at the end, just because I don't want to start with a ranking, because I don't want
right.
I think it'd be more fun to just talk about the cast and then at the end reveal where we think we're going to have them all. So why don't I add them to the stream? First up, Jonathan Young, age 29 from Alabama. He is the Survivor guy. He looks like a Survivor god.
He's the one that they pulled out of the folder that said poster fodder. This is our guy.
I think he's your closest thing to Ricard if he was in Danny's body. Very much. Oh yeah.
There's a huge resemblance.
Yeah,
I noticed that.
Yeah, but he seems even more like bro football player type, which is why I said Danny. But he seems to have a more harder edge than someone like Danny. He says his pet peeves are wearing shirts, people who bully others, and when people are disrespectful. So he's gonna play a heroic game, which I like to see. He likes working out, spearfishing. He said he spent the whole quarantine spearfishing, learning how to spearfish, which is really, really cool and really helpful. He's going to be a provider. If he goes before the merge, I would be flabbergasted. But he also broke the world record for most pull-ups with 100 pounds on his back. So Zach, that's a goal to strive for, I guess. Put 100 pounds on your back and see if you can break his record. This is a great
That's literally all of the weight that I should have in a year on his back. That's really amazing.
What is something we would never know from looking at you? I can sing an amazing rendition of Part of Your World for The Little Mermaid, which I love. So yeah, he's very much athleticism forward, 100%. Yeah. I don't know how his strategy is going to be. What are your thoughts on Jonathan?
I think Jonathan's going to piss a lot of people off.
Really?
Yeah, man. Okay. I read hates wearing shirts, and I went, oh, come on, man. He's quintessential, like you said, he's quintessential Survivor. I think he could be really endearing if he plays it the right way. But I'm also thinking about him mixing with some other people on the cast. And a lot of these people are very don't like stupidity, don't like, people who don't get to the point. And he doesn't scream like stupidity to me by any means necessary. But what he does scream to me is, I'm going to try and be the leader here. And that's always going to make somebody upset. Yeah. So I think that Jonathan plays it right. He does a great job and gets to the end. Yeah. Jonathan doesn't play it right.
Yeah. And just a point blank, do we think he can win? I do not think so.
I don't think so.
Yeah, just because this player never wins, because no one ever wants to sit
next
to him because he is
no one would ever let him get to the end. No one would ever be that stupid.
Next, we have Mariah Sharon, who is 47 years old. She's the oldest woman on her tribe, which is also the same tribe as Jonathan. Her biggest accomplishment, of course, is teaching and being a mom. What is something we would never know? Looking at you in front of some people, a leadership role. Everyone thinks I'm super strong, have no problems, never made a mistake. In reality, she is a bag of mistakes made and lessons learned. She's also tender-hearted, which just seems like a mom. Tender-hearted but tough exterior. Who's your hero and why? This is going to be a big story point, definitely, because her brother was the first nurse to pass away in New York of COVID. So she's definitely got that really emotional story. Right. She gives me major Tiffany vibes. I agree. Last season, kind of a cool mom who can fit in with people. The only thing is, moms in general are targeted early. Tiffany was lucky in that Evie and Liana were not having that game, and that's how Abraham goes. But I think there's a narrative where if there's more than 6 people on that tribe, maybe that tribe does vote Tiffany off because she's weak in challenges early. So I think it's really going to be on how she plays the challenges, and if she ends up being good in challenges, I don't see any worry because she is also on a tribe with Jonathan and Lindsay. We'll get to Lindsay later, but those are obviously the strongest man and woman on this cast. So I think being on that tribe, she's going to be fine for a few votes. I don't think they're going to go to tribal council as much as the other 2 tribes, which we'll get to later when we look at all 3 tribes together. But what are your thoughts on her? What are your thoughts on Mariah?
Kind of everything that you said. I like her. I too got very big Tiffany vibes from her right off the bat. I think that she, cool thing that teachers have, and I might just be biased because I'm a teacher. A thing that teachers are really capable of is they're capable of making connections quickly. So that will probably be, and she's a mom, so she also knows kind of how to be that figure to people. So a strength she probably will have is getting in good with her tribe quickly, and not being the one, they all kind of look at and are like, you got to go, let's get out of here. Do I think she can win the game? I'm a solid maybe right now. Yeah, it depends on how everything goes.
I think it's one of those things where if she goes to the end because people think she's weak, no. But if she goes to the end because she's in a solid alliance, if she plays a Tiffany-like game but gets to the end, I think she could win. Next up, we have an ad for Lucy and Desi, the new Prime Video. There we go.
Wow, thanks EW.
Romeo Escobar. He's 37 years old. He does not look that old. He looks great for his age. He's from LA.
He looks like a child.
He is a pageant coach, so he is a Latino, gay, smaller, skinnier guy, but he's also older than a lot of the younger, players of his archetype. I think he's a very fascinating archetype. I don't think we've ever seen someone like this on Survivor.
I agree.
At this age, but playing into a more younger, social archetype. He's not playing like the fatherly role, obviously, in the season. He says he's a bit impatient, so he would say slow people, laziness, and people who don't know how to read the room are his pet peeves. And he does say he's very competitive. He works in the fashion pageant industry. Sorry, not fashion, but pageant industry. And then when he lists his favorite Survivor players and who he wants to play, like he lists pretty much all the most famous players of all time: Sandra, Suri, Parvati, Rupert, Rob. He wants to be remembered. What are your thoughts on Romeo, Zach?
Romeo is my antithesis to Jonathan, and that's kind of where I saw when I started to see Romeo. Okay. I was like, okay, this is where Jonathan has a hard time. I think Romeo is really, like you said, I think he's a great archetype and a great, kind of section of his archetype. It's not really very common. Mm-hmm. I think that I'm interested to see. Pageantry is a hard game, and you have to have a lot of discipline for pageantry. Yeah. So I'm interested to see kind of how that discipline moves its way into the game for him. He could, and the other thing about pageantry, if you're someone who's ever watched pageantry either on television, in reality TV, which obviously isn't as, it's not the same as what it is in real life, quote unquote. But it's a very dramatic and cutthroat, industry. So I wonder, I look to him and I wonder, like, are you going to be able to keep the friends that you need to, or are you going to get pissed off and are you going to cut ties, or are they going to cut them from you? Because you got to be able to, just like any of the CBS games, you got to be able to play well with the people on your team. And if you can't, you're the first to go.
It's funny because you said he's the antithesis of Jackson. Jonathan. We'll get to Jackson later, but Jonathan, he's like this big guy. You thought he'd be more of the person who pisses people off, and I'm in the opposite, where I think Jonathan will be someone a lot of people like because he's a provider. He's kind of this big hulking, like teddy bear almost, like a hard rock exterior. But I think Romeo could be the one who pisses people off because I think he is very competitive. He's smart. He people always underestimate me, but he loves proving people wrong. He's someone who I think is going to be a loud personality. I don't think that's a bad thing, but on Survivor, this early, depending on who your tribe is, being loud and upfront could put a target on your back. So I do worry. I just don't know who he will click with. I'm sure he will click with someone, but it's just like one of those types where it's like, he's not going to be one of the bros, but like, I also don't know if his age is going to make him less appealing to the younger people, or if because he looks younger than his age, if he's going to be able to appeal to both the older and younger. He's a mixed bag, and he's my most mixed bag, which is where I don't know where to put him. So it's like really tough. And I think he is on the weakest tribe. We'll get to that later, but I think he's someone who could be in danger early, but if he goes far, he could end up being a breakout player. So
agreed.
Next, we have Tori Meehan, who was born in Tulsa, currently lives in Rogers, Arkansas, which is where my roommate grew up, which is really cool.
Oh, no kidding.
She's a therapist. She enjoys CrossFit, but also playing board games or card games. So there you go. Physical, but also very smart. She doesn't like when people lack self-awareness, which means she would probably be pretty self-aware if she doesn't like other people's lack of it. But yeah, she is someone that I remember reading that her family watches a whole season of Survivor every Christmas. They just pick a season and watch the whole thing, all 12 hours every Christmas, which I really, really like. She says she's a strong social player because of her background in counseling and psychology, which I think is exactly what you need. I think the therapist is like the number one profession you need if you're going to do Survivor. Like a therapist and teacher seem like the two most prime things when it comes to just interacting with human behavior and understanding different connections, personal levels of connections. She's someone that I think if you look at her at first glance, you could think she's the flirt, she's the mean girl, but I think once you get to know her more, she's more quirky, she's warmer, like she says, she's self-aware. So what are your thoughts on Tori?
It's hard. I mean, it's hard because, just like a little bit of a sequitur for a second. I still, even after watching just one season of Survivor, I still kind of go into it and I approach it from the Big Brother angle because that's my comfort level. Yeah. So like I see Tori and I see her as like a great ally for someone who needs like that solidified person to rely on. Because of what she's able to do. She's able to kind of read people. She's able to work them through things. I am curious to see if she's going to make it to emerge because of what's requested of you as a player on Survivor. Okay. And I think her being self-aware is a super awesome trait. A lot of people claim to be self-aware. If they're actually self-aware, that's a totally different story. And usually when someone claims to be self-aware, they're not as self-aware as they kind of like know themselves to be. I don't know. I'm interested. I'm gonna say though, I actually do think Tori has the ability to win the game.
Oh, 100%, yeah.
Especially with like CrossFit. She's a puzzle board gamer, which like is so pertinent in this. She's gonna be someone who really like, if she plays her cards right, she fades into the background and becomes someone's like kind of like tight knit.
Yeah. I like what you said about CrossFit because I think she's on the weakest tribe. I've said over and over, I think her tribe, which we'll get to later, but it is Roxroy, Romeo, Swati, Tori, Drea, and Zach. I think she is one of the stronger members on that tribe. Because I don't think any of the guys on that tribe are particularly strong. I think the girls are going to be the ones carrying the weight, which if in a puzzle, she seems like she'll be able to do the job and she won't be targeted by her team. But I also don't think her whole tribe is going to be strong enough that if she makes it to the merge, I don't think people are going to say, get her out. She's a competition threat, which I think is a good thing for her. I think she's going to be able to, be the strongest one in her tribe to where they don't get rid of her. But then once you're at the merge, still not be the strongest one. So no one feels the urgency to get rid of her. I think she could really move through the game pretty well. And I think being a therapist, I get what you're saying, like saying that you're self-aware makes you less self-aware. But I think at the same time, she's got a degree in it, in knowing awareness of just human behavior.
Oh, for sure.
I think she's more self-aware than some other people who would claim they're self-aware, but I do see that point. She could be someone who does overplay, but I don't know, because of her tribe. I think her starting tribe is her biggest gift, because I think if she's on a tribe with some of the bigger, stronger people like a Jonathan, maybe she does stick out more as like this strategic threat, but I think her tribe is going to need her and want to keep her around.
Yeah, they're going to really need her, and it's going to be something that they have to rely on.
Yeah, which I'm very excited for. Yeah. And I'm a fan of her, just like listening to her. I've seen some of the just compilations of different questions and interviews and stuff, and she seems very easy to like connect with. I think she did a season of Sequester online once, and she did very well. So she's got some background in just strategic gaming, although this is a whole nother beast than Sequester, which is, Sequester is more Big Brother anyway, but it's still something that she's done something like this. Next up, okay, here's Jackson. Jackson Fox, 48. He's the oldest person on his tribe. He is a healthcare worker. He lives in Houston. He is the first openly transgender person on Survivor. Zeke Smith was the last transgender person on Survivor, except he did not come out. He actually was outed on the show. There's a big controversy, but Jackson's the first openly transgender contestant, which I think is already something that's going to make a lot of people endeared to him. Might turn some people off from him, some more conservative audience members, but I think it's important to have someone like Jackson on the show, similar to like Ricard talking about his husband who was pregnant because he was transgender as well. Ricard's husband was transgender. I think he's going to bring a really good story element to this season. Is he going to be a good player? We'll see, because I think he's going to be someone a lot of people get along with, and I do think he's on the strongest tribe, so I think his tribe is going to lose the least. But at the same time, if his tribe does lose, is he going to be the one they sacrifice because he is a little weaker and just more naive, someone that you can easily pull the, I don't know the phrase, pull the wool over your eyes or something like that. But yeah, I like him. He is a big softie, and it shows from just his personality. Even with the tattoos, he is a big softie. You just hear it in the way he speaks. He says he wants to play like Elaine, who is literally like the softie of softies, also an LGBT representative. So I think he's going to be more of an audience favorite than a game favorite to win. I don't think he has a shot at winning unless he gets to the end, which I don't know if it's going to happen. But what are your thoughts on Jackson?
I disagree, though. I really like Jackson.
Oh, cool.
I like it.
Cool. I like trying Jackson. I just don't know if he has a chance.
Oh, no. I actually think so. The reason I think he actually has a chance, again, it's one of those things where I'm looking at, and again, Jackson was another one who I looked at their pet peeves, and I was like, that's another Jonathan problem. And it's, again, I'm looking at like the amount of people who are living in that world. I think the favorite hobbies, puzzling, weightlifting, and dog walking, which and then initially you're like, oh, okay, cool. That's Survivor in a nutshell, man. It's Survivor. Well, and the dog walking again. That's like
that's the personality.
Right, I mean, it's like
that's a social,
and it's not just social. It's literally the idea of having like discipline. You get up, you walk that dog, you do what you need. You do what needs to be done, and on a walk, which again, it sounds strange. That's where the best thinking happens for some people. So to have that strategic element, to have that, that awesome, physical element that people probably aren't going to expect, especially once he reveals that he's transgender. A lot of people will judge and they'll make assumptions based off of that. And that's going to be a really great way for him to not, to say like, I'm going to be an asset. You just don't even really know it yet. And then all of a sudden, like you said, he's on the strongest tribe. He's probably not going to be seeing tribal a lot.
Early on, yeah.
But that's going to be something that, like, I have a good feeling, and I was wrong last season. I have such a good track record with
which is a good sign. Whoever we put at the bottom, you're probably going to win this season. So yeah, congratulations.
We'll but it's one of those things where, like, I look at him and I go, if you do the right thing that you need to, which is play well, keep quiet, and save it for the merge. I just think they go to the top. I think they get there, and they've got a great story to tell about how and why they deserve to win.
For sure. Another ad.
I
don't even have time to read what that ad was. Anyway, Chanel Howell. I like to call her the most Survivor contestant ever in terms of just like reading her bio. I cannot find a fault. She's cunning, competitive, and cultured. Cool. Her pet peeves are slow walkers. It's the New Yorker in me. Yep, cool. Relate to that. What's your proudest accomplishment? Utilizing my recruiting skills to create a mentorship program to help young women get into professional spaces.
Oh my God, yeah,
so
literally.
She's good at people.
You're like, oh, okay.
Who's your hero? Your parents? She wants to play like Kim Spradlin, the best female player to ever play the game. Why do you want to be the sole survivor? She's a student of the game. She watched all the seasons. She's done a deep dive into Reddit. She said in another article and interview, like, this girl is like, I cannot find a flaw. But I also think in a modern season of Survivor, are enough people like us, and they're saying, well, she's perfect. Like, why take her along? So it's going to be a question of, is she just that charismatic and likable and good with people and just well-rounded? And when I say perfect in Survivor, I don't mean like she's going to be out spearfishing like Jonathan. He's the most like island ready, but she's
the Survivor icon. She's the Survivor.
Yeah, like she gives me Shan vibes without the villainy.
Yes.
And I think that's like a good thing. And not just because she's black, not because she's young in that prime age range, but because she's just very well-rounded, very social. She has a job that she's very self-aware, but she doesn't, say she's self-aware. Like Tori, my only downfall on her could be if other people catch on to that. How good she is, you could just send her home because she is so well-rounded, almost like an Evie, where everyone's like, no, Evie's great at this game. Let's get rid of them. What are your thoughts on Chanel? I mean, I've already kind of spoiled my hand that I really like Chanel, but what are your thoughts?
I also like Chanel, but again, it's one of those things, like, I will tell you, I've done my own deep dives of Reddit, and Redditors talk, and people who are smart enough kind of start to recognize where people are thinking and why they're thinking the way that they are. And if she's not careful, then I will say, like, not without telling what number she is in my ranking, she's a middle placement because of the fact that I just think that she will. I think it's too perfect. It's too perfect, and I think she's gonna have a slip up.
The term game bot comes to mind in terms of like, you have your strategy and you can kind of just play it well, and it's like on Big Brother. I think recently it's gotten kind of predictable where you can kind of break the game in that sense of like build a big alliance and build a small alliance within that alliance. It's the Brigade. It's also Derek's alliance. It's what Cody did in All Stars. In Survivor, though, there's a lot more twists and turns in the fact that like the do or die could come into play. If she happens to lose that challenge like Deshawn did, she could go home on that. It could be the fact that she wins at the merge, and because of Sydney's blind side, the same thing happens to her. Like, she could be someone who just is dealt the wrong hand, but I think on a normal old school season, like season 1 of Survivor, I think she'd dominate.
Yeah.
She's going to be a question of how much control she has and if the twists are in her favor.
And if you overplan your game on any of these shows, you're likely to kind of flounder when things don't go exactly how you want them to. And I think that could be what her greatest weakness is that she's a student of the game. But just because you're a student of the game, as we've seen on these other shows, just because you're a student of the game doesn't always mean that you're the player who comes out on top.
Right. You want to be able to fade in the background like Erica did. It'll just be a question on whether or not she does. Next we have Omar. Omar Zahir, 31-year-old veterinarian, loves animals, but he does kind of give off a little bit of a villainous side. He just like likes to over-explain his answers. That's why I'm not going to really dive into any of them because they're like long paragraphs.
Yeah,
but,
they're like
on the previews
like
he has like this little like villainous grin, but he does say he is silly, he's empathetic, he's shameless. I am getting. I know this won't mean anything to you, but I'm getting Rob Cesternino vibes. You actually might know Rob because Rob has a podcast. But back when Rob was on the Amazon,
oh my god,
yeah, back when
Rob was on Survivor.
Yeah, that's where he got his start. Yeah, Rob was third place on Survivor Amazon. You watch that season.
Oh my
great.
god, I love Rob has a podcast.
Yeah,
Rob.
Omar gives me huge Rob Cesternino vibes.
Yes.
And the fact that like he's gonna be a game bot in terms of like he has his strategy, he's gonna stick to it, he knows the game so well, but he is gonna be someone who I think can crack a joke about it or could like make people laugh while doing it, even if he's doing it villainously. I think he is someone who could be a villain on the season, and I'm excited to see that because I think Omar is someone who's going to be super strategic, but will not necessarily come across that way at first. But again, it's a season full of superfans, so if superfans can pick up on that, they might send him home early. But I think if he can fly under the radar in the beginning and then take off later in the season, kind of like Erica, lion lamb thing, if he can play like the lamb at first and then emerges the lion later on, I think he has a good shot. I really like Omar. What are your thoughts?
I like him too. I have him high in my ranking. I'll tell you that. I think he's got a really cool energy to him. I love that he's a person, his thing that people would never know looking at him is not about like, oh, I'm this kind of a person. It's no, I went through a lot when I was younger. And because I don't present that way, I have that to back me up. And that's going to be something that's going to put him ahead. And I really, really like that. I'm also a talker.
Yeah.
So I relate.
He's going to be someone who I think on the island is also going to like just be able to like make jokes about nature too, which I think will help. Yeah. Like he can lead people in doing bird calls and shit. I mean, look at his shorts. There are toucans on his shorts. Like I think he'll just be like, oh, I'm a vet. Let's go look for animal. Like he'll be someone that can use kind of like Jonathan with his like spearfishing. Like he can use his environmental skills just as a veterinarian to maybe adhere to the island and the different life there. And I love also where he says, what is something we never knew looking at you at the end? He says, also, I'm afraid of condiments, which I think is hilarious. That is my brother. My brother won't put ketchup on anything. He won't put mustard on anything. He eats steak plain, no butter, no nothing. Just like a good, nice, juicy steak is good enough for him. Like, I think that's hilarious. I know you and I are both very fond.
We're sauce people. We are sauce people.
We like honey mustard in our chicken fingers,
honey mustard. The honey mustard, man.
Yeah, but Omar is a condimentalist. Whoa, a condimentless guy when it comes to his food habits. So I think that'll also be funny, and it'll help him on the island because all he has is rice.
I love that his pet peeve is Joey from Friends. That's such a great line. God,
that is great.
What's your pet peeve? Joey from Friends.
Joey from Friends. And institutional racism. So it's like the two extremes on either end.
And that mini wheats have gelatin. Crazy. Like this, he's a bag of fucking tricks, and I like it already.
He's gonna be
a
fan favorite for sure. Next we have Swati, I believe the youngest person on this cast, 19 years old. Swati. She's an Ivy League student. I think reading her bio, I really like her. She was in the Army, National Guard. She does jujitsu. She's a karate black belt. Just kidding. Jujitsu, just kidding. Sorry, I didn't read that before I said it. It was a joke. Her hero is Elon Musk, which is just interesting. That's an interesting one. And
so
she wants to play like Victoria Bamonde and Chaos Cass. Chaos Cass, one of the most visible players of her season. Victoria, one of the most quiet players of her season. I'm a big Victoria fan. The thing is, I watched her videos. And she seems a little, she gives off that Ivy League vibe in the sense that like, she's like, she thinks she's so hipster and cool, which at that age, at 19, when you're with a bunch of older people, could very well work against you. But if she plays it cool and chill, like a college student, like just kind of, looking up to the older people and being like the younger sister, which I think one other contestant might do better. I could see Swati maybe floating by. I don't know. What are your thoughts on Swati?
No, I'm really trying to figure out where Swati lies for me.
Yeah. She's a wild card too. I think her and Romeo are the
she's so difficult to place because I love the fact that she's so young. Because here's the thing, right? Being a teacher, my students are the most unpredictable human beings in the entire world, and they know that I do this podcast, and I'm sure that some of them listen at some point or another. But they are the most unpredictable human beings in the world. Every day it's a grab bag of what are you going to get. And I think the thing that always, that for me solidifies a good player of any of these shows is experience. If you are someone who's filled with experience, you have the ability to, really work your way through a problem that needs solving, not just, intelligence wise, but emotionally. Mm-hmm. That's what really saves you on a lot of these shows. And that's why we see a lot of these younger players always go out first in Big Brother, Survivor, The Amazing Race, because when push comes to shove and you're put under pressure, you become the version of yourself that you always pretty much strive to not. Yeah. And because of that, you as adults, you have the ability to say, I know how to navigate this. Yeah. She's very book smart and shout out for loving some theater, but is she going to have the emotional wherewithal to be able to, take a step back and be like, I really need to take a look at myself right now or I'm going to get gone. And that's where I think I have her tentatively placed high. And I'm even right now, I'm like,
well, because also you have to think when you're placing people high, these could also be people that are dragged along or people who get cut at the end, 0 vote finalists. She actually, when she said she was the youngest one of the season, or when I saw that, I thought of the 2 youngest people of the last season, which is JD and Xander. And I think JD goes out so early because he overplays because he is this kid and he is a liability. Whereas Xander flies under the radar in the beginning, kind of goes under Evie and Tiffany's wings, is brought to the end. But then even though he plays a great game and the audience likes him a lot, he doesn't get the respect from the jury. And I think either way, even if Xander was the most flashy, in-your-face player of all time, maybe there's a way he still doesn't win because it just happens to be that the jury doesn't want to award a kid $1 million. And that's totally fair because a lot of them are saying, we need this a lot more than you do. Right. Even though I would argue that college kids, a lot of them would really
student loans are so real, y'all.
Loans, I think $1 million would help, but I think Swati, if she tells people she's an Ivy League student, gets to the end, I don't know how people award her the win just because they'd be like, this is this 19-year-old Ivy League girl. I'm going to vote for someone else. So I don't know.
It's hard to reward someone who doesn't feel like they deserve to be rewarded. And even if they do, that's why you look at someone like Omar and you go, he deserves that reward because he has spent his life earning it. And then you look at someone like Swati and you go, you're not ready yet.
Yeah, and it should always be awarded on game, too. It shouldn't necessarily be on who needs the money the most, but I think that is a factor that people talk about at the jury house. Is just like, are we going to give it to this kid? And I think that's something. What were you going to say?
I'm a quote Robin Cass, who I actually don't know if Robin Cass is the one who handles Survivor. I don't think she is or ever was. But what she said, I was listening to her podcast with Victor and Nicole. And she said something very interesting. They were talking about how Victor had applied for season 16. And she said that when he came in, they all liked him because he came in on an open call. Shout out to open calls. We miss you. And they all kind of collectively agreed he was going to be good, but he wasn't ready yet. He needed some years under his belt. I look at Swati and I go, you could be good. You might need to come back. You might not make it far now, but you might be someone who will be really great when they come back for an underdog season or a second chance on the island type of season. And we know that Survivor likes that.
Yeah, they do that all the time. So big question mark with Swati. Another ad. Oh, Dalton Ross, you're killing me. All right. Hi Jiang. Don't know how to pronounce his last name, but hi. Hello, hi.
It's a good effort, man. It's a good effort. I would have just said hi because I would not have risked it.
This guy, he's my other favorite jokester next to Omar. He says, which past contestant, this probably won't mean much to you, but he says, I want to play. I want to say Parvati in terms of who he wants to play with. I want to say Parvati, but I'm not that hot nor charming. I will realistically be similar to Aubrey. I just think that's funny. Just making a joke like that. I'm not hot nor charming enough to be a Parvati. He has another he's another person who I think is going to be very witty, very easy to get along with. I think he's someone who could cruise through the beginning phase of this game fairly easily. He's one of the stronger people, I think, on his tribe. He looks like he's going to be very athletic, maybe not strong, but definitely agility-wise and puzzle-wise. He's a data scientist. He likes traveling. He seems very astute. He says it right there. He's aggressive, astute, and audacious. Sorry. But yeah, I think he's very well rounded, and it's another thing like Chanel, where on this season, maybe that's not the best thing because people can point out when you're well rounded, and that makes you a threat. Because he gives me Yule vibes. Yule is a previous winner too.
Yep. I know who that is.
Was very, very smart and calculated and made it to the end of that season because he, had the alliance game and he played the numbers. But on a modern Survivor, he played on the winter season. He wasn't able to adapt as well. So I don't know about this guy, but I like him. I like High. I want to watch him on TV.
Yeah.
He's a very charismatic presence. Will he win? I don't know. I think he has upside. If he makes it to the end, he could win. But is he going to get to the end? That's a question.
There's a lot going on up in that brain of his, and you can tell by these answers. Just the fact that, like, his greatest accomplishments, he lists these incredible accomplishments and then follows it and pretty much ends it with mentoring my younger brother to make sure he surpasses me, which is such a cool kind of approach to your life.
Mm-hmm.
And given, like, what his past is, again, I'm a big High and I'm a big Omar fan. Preseason, I don't know much about them. I haven't watched any previews or anything like that.
And so much can change after the first episode. And that's why we will do weekly rankings rather than a season ranking, because everything can change. And this game specifically, it becomes so night and day depending on the week. So
I see him and I kind of think, like, are you a Xander or are you an Erica? Are you gonna be able to be smart enough to make the moves when you need to make them and then back it up? Or are you going to make that one move, fairly midway through the season and then kind of just coast by on that so everyone else surpasses you?
Yeah.
As he said. And that to me is very he's another wild card in a different way than Swati. Swati's a wild card because she's so young and unexperienced. High is a wild card because he's still young, fairly, and very experienced. So you're kind of looking at it and going, where are you going to stand with people when you need to?
Yeah, I think he definitely has, if he makes it to the end, could definitely win in a unanimous vote because he's just like the most strategic player you've ever seen. But like, he's got to be able to get there, and I think he'll be good socially. I really do. I think he'll be good socially. I don't see him being like a villain or butting heads with many people. Even
I agree.
Like Xander wasn't a villain, but he butt heads with Liana last season. Like, I don't see him having a Liana like that. I think everyone will like him. It's just a matter of if everyone likes him too much that they want to cut him. Someone like Evie, where everyone was like, we love Evie, we got to cut her. So moving on to Lindsay. Hello, New Jersey. Asbury
What
Park,
up, New Jersey?
Years old. We have two New Jerseyans. This is one of the two, and I'll just say right now, I love both of them. Lindsay, though, is on the strongest tribe with Jonathan. I think she's going to be Jonathan's best friend out there. I could see them both just running out and grabbing a tree and cutting down a tree together and carrying it into camp. They are both strong, physical players. She is a co-ed flag football player in a sandbar down the shore. She does interior decorating as well. She's a dietitian. She is very competitive, and I think that is going to be something that may rub people the wrong way. But because she's competitive on Survivor, she's going to win some challenges. I don't see her tribe going to tribal council a lot, and I think she's just going to be someone who, if she's with enough other strong people, maybe can like just beast her way to the end in terms of competitions. And I think having Jonathan on her tribe, they're going to align probably. And if they get in the merch together, he's always going to be a bigger threat than her. So I think she's honestly looking good. I think she's almost the Deshaun to his Danny in the terms that, like, he's never going to be the biggest threat because Danny's always around there. Danny's always a bigger threat. So what do you think of Lindsay?
I don't really have anything to add. I think she's cool. I think she's going to have a really great time doing this. And I love that she doesn't like to waste time, which here on the island is going to be one of those things that we get to watch her. Like, she's either going to make a lot of friends doing that, or she's going to be the person that rubs everyone the wrong way because she's going to want to do something all the time. And you got a lot of time on that island and you are going to be fatigued. So how does she navigate around other people who are like, you need to just let us breathe?
Yeah. The good news is, like, I think if any woman is gonna win a lot of competitions and kind of like
it's gonna be her.
To the end, it's gonna be her. Like she just looking at all the women on the season, in terms of everyone on the season, I don't think anyone could beat Jonathan in like a wrestling match. But I think in these challenges, there's a lot of like balance beams and throwing balls and stuff that I think she might be able to do even better than Jonathan. Like I think of anyone most likely to win most competitions and immunities, I think it's her. So I think it'll be interesting to see what her strategic backup is. Here's the other Jerseyan, Mike Turner, 58, oldest man on the season, oldest person on the season. He is from Hoboken. He was born in Hoboken. He still lives in Hoboken 58 years later, across the water from New York City. He loves working out, sports, watching great movies. Very typical, stereotypical dad answer. He's loyal, loud, and fair. This guy... This guy's going to be a character, and I cannot wait. I think Mike Turner is going to be someone who is either going to be like the craziest villain of the season that everyone can't stand, that somehow just like is able to still play the game really well and go far, or he's going to be like someone that everyone's like, oh, he's like my dad, I want to take him to the end. I really think either way, though, I think we'll be seeing Mike Turner for a lot of the season.
I don't know, man. I don't know.
It's okay to disagree, because I can't wait to be right when Mike Turner's sitting there in the finale night. I could be like,
you know what?
There
you could be. Listen, man, I go to the gym in Bayonne, New Jersey. It's right around the corner from Hoboken. The Bayonne area and the Hoboken area, Jersey City area of New Jersey is like, you do not mess with them, man. You do not mess with them. They are the real deal down there. So I think that he could present so much great, like just such a great energy for the season. He reminds me a little bit of, what the hell was his name?
Abraham?
He reminds me. He's got a similar vibe, but I think what he has over Abraham is he's clearly more fun to fucking be around, which I enjoy. I don't think Mike is the one who goes home first. I think if needed, he goes home, because you just don't want to carry him along with you, because you see how great of a personality he has. And that like in a season with a lot of, because I will say, like in this season, based on preseason, there are a lot of great personalities, and only one great personality is going to win $1 million. And if you look at Mike and you go, shit, that's a fan favorite right there, man. You got to say, all right, how we getting rid of him? It was like and actually, he doesn't even remind me a lot of Abraham. He actually reminds me way more of Nasir than anyone. He's got that similar energy, and I like it. But Nasir was someone who they said, like, oh, shit, we got to get rid of Nasir, man. We got to get rid of him.
But I think he's going to be a little bit more self-aware than Nasir in terms of, like, I think he could go out, find an idol, but then, like, make a move.
Agreed.
I think Nasir was holding on to his idol, and he was just like, I'll be anyone's friend who wants to have me. But I think Nasir was always on the chopping block. I think Mike, if it's because he's the oldest one and everyone's just like, let's get rid of him first, maybe he'll go early. But I think really if he can find an alliance and like get to the end, because the thing is, he says he's sensitive, he cares, like he has feelings. Like I think he's a softie in there, but I think he's going to be one of the strongest people on his team. I mean,
I agree.
We haven't talked about Jenny or Lydia or Daniel yet, but I think he's definitely going to be stronger than High. Maybe not High, because High.
I don't know, man.
Agility.
I don't know about that.
But I think he'll be stronger than Chanel. I think he will be stronger than Jenny and Lydia.
Yeah.
I think he'll be stronger than Daniel. So I think in terms of his tribe, I think him and High will be the two physical threats that will help his tribe early on. So I really don't see why they would want to get rid of him, especially because there are not going to be any tribe swaps this season like last season. So I really think a lot of people are going to like him. I don't think he can win, because I don't think anyone would let him get there. I agree. And I even think if he gets there, people might see him more as like a joke, a character, rather than someone who actually played the game. And if he plays it more villainously, like Boston Rob, which he says he wants to play like, he could be
I'm excited to watch that.
But I'm so excited. Exactly. Like, I'm so excited to watch him. He could be someone who makes it to the end and gets 0 votes, or he could be someone who like makes it to the finale, becomes their fan favorite, or he could be the first boot. I think he has the most range. But I think that's also a good thing in terms of entertainment and unpredictability. Moving on, another ad. There we go. Lydia Meredith, 22, Santa Monica. She is a waitress, aka actor, who does waiting as a part-time job. Her favorite hobby is writing.
Her comedy. Favorite hobby, man.
I was reading comedy while I was saying hobby. Her favorite hobby is writing comedy. She likes going to music festivals and going to the movies by herself. 1 point for Lydia there. She's spontaneous, loyal, and funny. Her pet peeve is when people waste her time. Her biggest accomplishment is riding Mickey's Fun Wheel at Disneyland despite being afraid of Ferris wheels. Another point for Lydia. She loves Disney World and she loves roller coasters. Who's your hero and why? Kristen Wiig. Another point for Lydia. Like, she is checking all the boxes and like who I'd most want to be friends with on this cast.
But, is she checking the boxes to win the game of Survivor?
I don't think so, dude. Like
I don't think so. I don't think so.
She looks like she could be a liability on a team. I think she'll get along with everyone, but I think there could come a point where her tribe keeps losing and they say we've got to cut her. But I hope she goes far. I hope she goes.
She's got. I don't even want to say she's got Evie vibes. She does not have Evie vibes. Evie was an asset to their team. Lydia seems more to me like a character to kind of put on the team to kind of rustle some feathers. I don't think she's got much merit to the people who she's going to be on a tribe with. And I think that I don't see her going far. I just kind of see her.
Yeah, I think Lydia is one of those people that, like, if she makes it far, I think she will be one of the most beloved contestants ever because I think she's goofy, she's relatable, she's funny, she's a comedian. She wants to play like Tom Westman, which is hilarious. Tom Westman is very much like your Mike Turner, like firefighter, stand-up, like older guy.
Right.
Like, very much not what she's giving me, but like I love that. I love
but
that
cool.
she's gonna be different. And I think we need more different presences on Survivor, someone different, like a Romeo, like a Lydia. I don't think anyone's played like Lydia. I don't think anyone's played like Romeo. I think that's what's going to be so adhering to her.
Right.
But again, I don't see her being a big challenge asset. So if her tribe is able to survive and make it through, she might be okay once they hit a merge. But if they ever go to tribal, I mean, how many times is she going to survive before they cut her? Especially being on a tribe with people like Mike Turner and High, people you're going to want to keep around. Chanel. I don't know about her, but I like her. I do like her, and I think she'll be someone who could be a fan favorite if she gets far.
Yeah, I think that it'll be interesting.
Oopsies.
I think it'll be interesting to see how she navigates through.
Yeah.
I don't see Lydia going too far.
All right. Next we have Roxroy, who,
Roxroy.
If you can tell by his bio here, it's the shortest of any of them. He basically gives a sentence or two per each one. He is the first in an immigrant family to graduate from a 4-year college. Great. He's an environmental scientist. He's Jamaican. He loves watching golf. I am getting nothing from Roxroy. And I got nothing in his bio. I looked at his videos. I got nothing from his videos. Even his picture, I got nothing. I don't know if he's going to be like a Deshaun in terms of physical strength, but he's also 44. I don't know if he's going to be a liability. I have no idea with Roxroy. What are your thoughts on Roxroy?
I don't really know.
I'm not getting anything. I don't know.
I don't have him high. I don't really have him like low, but I got him low. Like he's like a dart I'm gonna throw at the board and go land somewhere, and he will, because all darts do.
The thing with Roxroy is like he's someone that I feel like everyone on this cast, you can see exactly why they got cast. Aside from being a stay-at-home dad, which is really cool and different, I don't see anything about him that just makes me just jump out of my seat. Like, oh my God, like they got someone like this on Survivor. Like he's the most plain, boring person, but honestly that could work for him in going far. Because also if he is on a tribe, he is on what I'm pegging as the worst tribe. Is he going to be stronger than Romeo? Probably. Stronger than Swati? Probably. Stronger than Tori? Maybe. Stronger than, we haven't gotten to Drea or Zach yet, but like probably stronger than them. So he could be the strongest person on his tribe, or he could be the weakest. I don't know. And I think that's why it's such a question mark. Like, I think Mike Turner, you read his bio, you're like, he's going to be strong. He's a firefighter. But here, I don't know if he's going to be strong. He likes watching golf. Like, I don't know.
He's got a great name. Roxroy, crazy good name.
He's got
crazy good name, but I don't have anything.
Yeah.
I got nothing. I got nothing for him.
Jenny Kim, 43, lives in New York. Don't know where in New York, but I hope it's New York City so I can cheer her on. They do Survivor watch parties a lot if there are New York contestants. So I'd love to go to a watch party and root for Jenny, but I don't know where in New York she lives. As a designer, her career has taken some hard hits during the recession and probably also the pandemic. She likes Pilates. She is older, and I think immediately that's going to make her stick out. And I think it's going to be interesting seeing her game versus Mariah's game as the two moms and older people on the tribe, seeing And I don't even know if she's a mom. She says she has a husband. She goes traveling. I don't even know if she's a mom.
Right.
But like the mom types, the older women on the tribe.
Right.
I don't know if she's gonna play like Mariah. I don't know which one of them is gonna have a better social game, strategic game, whatever. But I think betting on the mom is always a gamble, and I think someone like Tiffany was someone who we could see winning the game, but still went home fairly early. She was the first boot she was the first juror.
She was for sure.
And Heather made it to Final Four. So it's like, it's hard to tell with moms on Survivor. Some of them make it far. Some of them are immediately cut. And some of them make it middle of the road. It's really hard to tell. What are your vibes on Jenny? Because she just seems like the very all-around, very smart mom.
Well, congratulations, Jenny. You're probably going to win because you're my first boot. Wow. So she's probably the winner of that. I just don't see anything to assist her in this game at all. Mm-hmm. I was hesitant when I saw like Pilates, and I'm like, okay, great. And I'm like, but you know what? That's not really an asset here. That's kind of like, being physically fit is amazing, but like not having a ton of strength is not super helpful. And I don't see any, looking from a team aspect or a tribe aspect rather, I don't see any merit to her. And I don't, she could come in and prove everything wrong that I'm saying. And that's why I'm saying congratulations. You're my first boot. So you're probably going to win the season. That's how this goes here at the Recipe for Reality. But I just don't, I really don't see her. I don't see her meshing with a lot of people. She, again, direct, open, and compassionate is awesome. But again, you're on an island with, 17 other people, and everyone's kind of got to be direct, open, and passionate or compassionate. So, like, what else do you bring to the table? It's like being in Big Brother. It's like being in Big Brother or on the race. Great, you're great to work with, and you're really amazing. How are you going to make that work? Like, are you great? Yeah. You can talk to people, and you can make them feel good. But what do you offer outside of that? And I feel like she doesn't offer a ton on the other side of things. And she goes to tribal. I'd get rid of her. That's kind of, unless she's a really great physical asset, but otherwise not.
She's someone who I think if her tribe wins a few and doesn't have to go to tribal early, she can get in an alliance and go far. But I think her tribe, I'm looking at all the tribes. I'm looking right now. I think Jonathan and Lindsay's tribe is just going to beast their way through the beginning. Yeah. And I think the other two, because also in the first episode, we're getting a double boot, supposedly.
As we did the first time.
So saying Taku, which is Jonathan and Lindsay's team, if they win, each of these other tribes is going to have to go to tribal council. And I think of her tribe, she's definitely the weakest. So I do have her. I don't want to spoil it, but I have her going second only because I think her tribe is going to go to tribal second. But yeah, I agree with you. She's one of the first two boots, because first boot in this season is like, it's two boots is basically the first boot, because two tribes are going to tribal council in episode 1. But I think she's the most likely to go home first on her tribe. But if her tribe somehow wins that first challenge and Taku has to vote off someone and she's able to stick around a little bit, she's someone who could be a loyal ally. Right. I could see easily getting to the end and getting like 0 votes in the end just because she played someone in someone else's alliance and didn't really take much agency. I don't see her leading any sort of strategic moves. I don't see her being the one making the moves. I see her kind of going along with them, which is not a problem in terms of getting far, but in terms of winning, I don't think she has a shot.
She reminds me of Heather, which again, like I hate to be consistently comparing, but they have to compare themselves to people anyway.
And that's the only season you've seen.
It's but again, it's also like great. Heather was the same way, where it's like, cool, you were open and compassionate, and she got lucky that she just ended up on that strongest tribe. Because again, I think Heather. Oh, my ring light just went out. I think Heather goes. Heather goes home that first night if Uwa. Was it Uwa? Oh, come on, man. I think if Uwa loses that first night, which there wasn't really a chance.
Oh wait, no, she wasn't on Uwa.
Oh no,
Uwa
she was
the Green Tribe. She was on
Lubu. She was on Lubu. She was on Blue. I don't think there's a chance in the world that she makes it past that first night if Lubu goes to tribal. And I kind of see Jenny the same way. There's not really a world if they go to tribal that night that she's going to survive.
Yeah. Well, and honestly, with Survivor,
maybe we'll be wrong. You're my first boot, Jenny. You're my first boot, Jenny. So you're probably the winner of the season.
And here's the person who said he will be the first boot, and that is Daniel. Daniel is a 30-year-old from Cincinnati, lives in Connecticut now. He's a law clerk. He battled a battle with cancer. So he has already had to fight a much bigger Survivor game than this game of Survivor itself. He's a movie fanatic. He loves Legos and keeping track of things. Love that. He's a debater. Or no, he's pet peeve is people who feel that they are convinced they are right. that they foreclose a debate. So he likes, so he is a debater. He likes to debate about something rather than just like say, I'm right, you're wrong, end of story. Right. Here's something fun, something you would never know looking at him. He collects signed pocket U.S. constitutions. He has one signed by Chief Justice Roberts, Justice Thomas, Justice Alito, Justice Sotomayor, and the former U.S. ambassador to Astoria. That is really cool.
Estonia.
Sorry, Astoria is a neighborhood in Queens. I am in New York mode. Sorry. Who's your hero and why? George Washington, being the first ever to resist power of that magnitude. Cool answer, because that's not who anyone would think of first. He is someone who I think he's so self-deprecating in these videos. He's like, I'm probably gonna be the first one gone. Like, he's like, I'm gonna be terrible at this. I'm not equipped to play Survivor, and I honestly think that is his biggest asset. I think is his biggest asset. I think that is why I think he could go really far in this game, because I think he's going to be so funny in how self-deprecating he is that everyone else is just going to be like, dude, come on, like let's be alliances. You're fine. I got you, buddy. And then at the end, he's a lawyer. He's going to be well-spoken, and I think that's a really good asset to have for Daniel. I think he's one of my favorite people to watch in his preseason stuff. He's so funny, and I have a good feeling about Daniel. What about you?
I'm going off of kind of his feeling of himself for my ranking and things like that. He's not my first boot, clearly, but we'll see. I again, it's like, it's one of those things where when someone kind of feels like they're not equipped to play the game, that's usually, I think you're correct. I think that's when they end up playing the best, because they're just they're going in with the expectation that like, I'm going to learn every single minute of this, and that's kind of going to be how it is. Mm-hmm. It's probably, I don't know how he is physically, but like, it's probably going to be difficult for him pre-merge if he's not on a winning tribe. But if he gets, if he is as good of a lawyer as he says he is, it's one of those things where if you can convince people to get you to that you are an asset to keep there, then guess what? You're going to go so far, and he could go on and he could win. But he's really got to prove what kind of an asset he is before the merge, because it's at merge where things get difficult. It's at merge where things get easy for him.
This is the only time I'm ever going to spoil where I put someone in the ranking. The do or die is back. And I think last year Deshaun got real lucky that he happened to survive it, but I think most times someone won't. I see Daniel being the perfect person to risk the challenge, say, why not? I've made it longer than I should have anyway. Lose that challenge, get the do or die, and go home. And I just feel like he'd laugh about it and say, well, that was fun. I made it much longer than I thought I would, and make a big laughing stock out of it. I think he's the prime candidate for it, and that's why I have him right at 7th place, because I think like I could easily see him doing that, because I think he's going to be someone people will like and want to keep around, especially because I keep bringing it back to the weaker tribes. Like, he's on a tribe with Mike Turner and High, who are probably more strong than him, but I think he's stronger than the girls on that tribe. I think he's going to be stronger than Jenny, Lydia, or Chanel. So I think he's going to be someone who might want to be kept around for challenges, specifically puzzles, because he's very smart. But I think he's just going to be a fun guy to have around. He could very well be the first boot because he is just not equipped for this. But the fact that he is so self-aware to say, I truthfully think the odds are against me, it's all going to be a matter of threat management. At least he knows. And I think that's a big first step, is knowing where your place lies in the group, especially against someone like Jonathan, who is literally the Hulk, the Incredible Hulk. So
literally.
Yeah. So I'm excited for Daniel. Whether or not he does well or not, I think we'll still remember him by the end of the season. Marianne Oketch. Marianne has my heart. I love Marianne. She's from Canada. Her smile is just like, it radiates.
And it really does.
Energetic, empathetic, chaotic. I get that vibe from her 100% just looking at her. She says she's a great listener. And that's something that people wouldn't really know looking at her, because she is so extroverted, loves to talk. She wrote an article for a school newspaper that led to her being invited to consult with her university's equity and inclusion officer on creating a better framework for Black students, which I think is huge, especially in this phase of Survivor, and that it becomes such a big topic of conversation, the idea of race and diversity. I think that's huge. She wants to play like Davey. You don't know Davey, but I know Davey, and Davey is a perfect person to play like if you're in her archetype. He called himself a blurred, a black nerd, and I think that's what she gives off too. She is just so sweet. She's a pocket of sunshine. I want to put her in my pocket, but at the same time, I would never want to go far in the game with a girl like this, because she could beat me in the end.
Yeah, I get that. I get that from her. Mm-hmm. It's literally like, you are so good at you're so amazing. I can't let you get there.
Yeah.
I can't let you get there because how am I going to beat you? How am I going to ever stand up next to you?
Yeah, it's different than like Hai and Chanel, where we're talking about just all around well-rounded. Because I don't even think she's going to be great in challenges or even that strategic. She's just got the social game, and I think that's the most threatening thing nowadays in modern Survivor is the social game. So I could really see her being in danger, but not till much later on in the game. Like early on in the game, I don't see how anyone's going to want to cut this girl, especially because she's on a tribe once again with the strongest people being Jonathan, Lindsay, Omar, Jackson. Who Jackson's not the strongest, but Jackson's going to be stronger than some people, and Mariah. Like I think she could be on the strongest tribe. I don't see her going to tribal a lot. I think she'll be a fan favorite for sure.
Agreed.
Next, and is this last? Yes, next and last. Mr.
No.
Zach.
No? Did we do Drea yet?
We didn't, so not next and last. This is the penultimate one. I want to save this for last because it's a super fan named Zach, so I want to save him for last. Drea Wheeler. Drea Wheeler is 35. She is a fitness consultant. Her favorite hobbies are working out and charity work. That's a great thing to get to the end of the game working out, and a great thing to win the game is charity work because you want to be fighting for a cause to win the game. She is athlete 100%. She's someone like Jonathan, like Lindsay, that like their main thing is going to be strength and challenge. So I don't know how she's going to do. What do you think, Zach?
I think it's going to. So this is, again, not to spoil a ranking, but like when I'm trying to rank all of these athletes, it's a really difficult way. Like it's very difficult to be like, well, you're an athlete, so you're going to make it before the merge. Because then I look at like, again, Drea's biggest pet peeve is dishonest people.
Yeah.
And the part of the game is being dishonest.
Yeah.
I think she's got a really awesome, she's got an awesome track record in terms of like, cool, she's going to probably win a couple challenges. But then it's a matter of like, great, you're going to win, but people are going to piss you off and people are going to make you upset. And like, again, she's another one that I look at and I go, Drea and Jonathan are probably not going to click because he's someone who I get an inkling of like he's going to do whatever it takes to win. Same thing with someone like Zach, we'll get to in a second.
Yeah, I want to say
think that she's gonna butt heads, and I think that that's never going to work well in a game like this because again, like think about someone like Liana, who in that one moment she gets caught, people come right at her. And I feel like this season seems more like a Liana isn't going to be, it's going to be the flip side. It's not the person who lied who everyone's going to be pissed off. It's going to be the person who can't respect the fact that people have to lie in this game.
Yeah.
And because I just get that kind of a feeling from this cast because there are so many super fans. There's so many people here to win. They know what it takes to win is that you gotta lie. You gotta lie sometimes.
Yeah.
It would be like, it's like going to get ice cream and being upset that it's cold. Like, oh God, like why is this ice cream cold?
Yeah.
It's cold because that's what it takes to be ice cream, you fool. Like, and that's how this works. You have to be able to lie.
I'm getting nothing but physical from her, and I think she's one of those people who wants Survivor for the adventure and the physical aspect to challenge herself, but I don't see her being someone who's like very well prepped for the strategic and social side of things.
She's not going to have
easy to get along with, like in terms of just like if her tribe keeps winning, she'll be likable. But again, she's on that weakest tribe. She's with Zach, Swati, Tori, Romeo, and Roxroy. I can't think of anyone on that tribe who would win except for her in terms of challenges. So like, I think she will be kept around because of that. I think she's going to be a challenge asset. Her and Tori are going to kind of be the most physically inept on that tribe. But then once you get to the merge, especially if they keep losing because they're the weakest tribe, if they're down in numbers, they could get picked off just like Evie and Tiffany were at the beginning of the merge. Like I could see Drea going home early merge because of that. I think she gets in the merge because I think she's still strong. But we'll see once she gets there if she's able to stick around. But let's talk about the last one here. Z is the end of the alphabet and he's the end of this list. Superfan Zach, 22, social strategy games, sketch comedy writing and running. He's clever, competitive. He's a storyteller. He does his pet peeves when people don't tip because he used to be a pizza delivery driver. This guy is super academic. He won a tournament of champions in debate. This guy is you, Zach. This is a super fan named Zach. He's nerdy.
I love him. I love him so much.
Yeah, tell me about him because I want you to talk about Zach.
So good. He's so good. It's like, and again, I might be biased because I really I look at this bio and I go, oh shit, I really wrote this. Like because if I'm honest, aside from clever, competitive, and storyteller, that's me. And so to see someone like that that's not what I would use.
Yeah,
that wouldn't be my third word. But competitive and storyteller, for me, on these shows, that's what it takes. You have to be someone who's driven enough to get that, to do what needs to be done. You have to be enough of a storyteller. Because this is my thing. This game's about lying, man. It's about doing what it takes to get to the end. You got to be competitive. And then when it comes to storytelling, you cannot have a loose end in a story. So to know that what it takes to be a good player of the game is you have to be willing to make that tough choice.
Yeah.
But then also be able to kind of back it up when people come to you and they're like, well, you told someone this, and you're like, oh yeah, I did, and let me keep telling you about it. I love how smart he presents. Obviously he's a super fan. I am so hesitant about him because he's going to rely on that social strategy. And you got to get to the merge to do that, guy.
Let me be the one to balance out the scale here because I don't see Zach. The problem is he's someone on paper that I think would be good in the game 5 or 6 seasons ago, but now that everyone is looking for the strategic threats more so than the physical ones, I think he could be a liability in terms of you see him, if you hear him talk, he's a super fan, and he's even more so of a super fan than a Chanel or a High. These people that we've said are so well-rounded in the game of Survivor, but they at least have the physical stuff to back him up. I don't see him being the strongest guy on his tribe, and I just worry on his tribe. I think they screwed him over the most because you have Tori, who's the pretty girl, with Drea, who's the very strong girl. You have Roxroy, who's the older man, probably going to be the strongest man on your tribe. You have Romeo, who's a total wild card, and then Swati, who's also young, but I feel like Swati is going to be a little more easy to vibe with, where Zach is going to stick out, I think, like a sore thumb. Now, here's my thing. The reason why I put him where I put him is because last year I put the first boot, who ended up being the winner. So my thought was, I don't see Zach doing very well. So my thinking was, I'll put him in 18th. I'll put him as the first boot because I think he's going to be the weakest, one of the people that his tribe wants to get rid of. But because technically putting him as the first boot also means I'm kind of predicting him as the winner.
Man. Oh, Dylan.
So if that makes you feel better, I figured that was the best way to put him because I could have easily put him 15th, 16th, 17th place.
I know. No, I know. And here's the thing is that
but I didn't want to do that because I do want to root for him. But I do also think I don't see him going very far. But if he does, I wouldn't be surprised.
I look at him, and again, it's one of those things. I look at him and I see me playing the game, and this is why I have said 100%. This is not my game, and I have him. Oh God.
We'll talk about it. We'll get.
You'll know where I have him, but again, and do we want to start from the top or do we want to go start from the bottom?
I think we should start at the bottom and go up because I think this is our season prediction. So really quickly before we get more into Zach, and because we can talk more about Zach once we get to him and your thing. Let's look at the 3 tribes real quick. This is the tribe with Zach on it. It is Roxroy, like I just said, Tori, Romeo, Swati, Zach, and Drea. Just first impressions on this tribe. What do you think of this tribe?
Oh no.
I think it's the weakest tribe, hands down.
Oh, no.
I think Drea is going to be the strongest asset, and I think Tori is also going to be a strong asset. I just don't know if these guys are good or not. Roxroy, maybe he is.
I was going to say, I think Swati is the curveball, and it's really going to be a matter of how good she actually is. Because I actually do think Zach could be good because he's going to be a very strategic mind and kind of figure out here, you got to go first. You got to go do this.
In terms of who clicks, I could definitely see the girls clicking. Maybe I could see Zach and Romeo clicking because they're outcasts. I don't really know who I could see Roxroy clicking with. Maybe Drea.
This dude is so weird. I can't figure him out.
Yeah, I can't either. I could also see Zach and Tori maybe clicking, but I think Tori might also want to play more with the women because she also is a very strategic person. I don't know if she'll clash with Zach. Let's look now at the Vati tribe. This is Chanel, Daniel, Jenny, Mike Turner, Lydia, and High. I think this one, obviously, I think Mike and High are your challenge assets. I think Chanel will be good in challenges. I think this tribe could lose a little bit too. I don't think they're going to be that strong.
I think
Lydia and Jenny will be liabilities. I think.
Yeah, I think they actually might be a weaker tribe overall than the first tribe, not because of strength, but because I don't feel like they're covered as much by certain things, like I feel like it's going to be a lot of relying on Hai and Mike, and that's going to be difficult. You can't rely on one person. And I feel like what is the other tribe? Taku?
The one I just showed was Aika.
Or Aika. I feel like Aika is going to be able to kind of, for lack of a better word, merge as a team, as a tribe a little bit more, and say like we all need to figure out where we fit in this puzzle, because they've got Zach and they've got Swati and they've got Drea to say like we have someone to kind of lead on multiple fronts. Then it's a matter of like placing who's going to go where. This doesn't really have that. This has Lydia, who's kind of like, huh. Daniel, who's kind of like, huh. Jenny, and then I feel I'm nervous they're going to end up relying a lot on Mike and Hai, and it's going to be difficult.
If this is like one of those Uwa situations where it's Ricard and Shan, I could easily see Hai and Chanel being that. And not because she's a black woman and he's gay, but because they seem like the most well-rounded in terms of connecting with everyone. So I think Chanel and Hai will be okay. It's just going to be a matter of, do they side with someone like Daniel and like Lydia, who are the kind of the oddball quirky ones, or do they side with Jenny and Mike, who are the older ones? Or do the four outcasts, Daniel, Jenny, Lydia, and Mike, team up on Hai and Chanel? We don't know. The third tribe is Taku. This, I think, is the strongest tribe. Even Mariah, who's
so good, man.
I mean, Mariah's the oldest one on the, or Mariah's the oldest woman, and Jackson's the oldest man on the tribe. But both of them, I think, are still capable of pulling their weight in challenges. But you also have Jonathan and Lindsay, who are going to be beasts. Marianne, who's a good social threat, but also could probably pull her weight in challenges. And then Omar, who I think will be good at puzzles and all that jazz. I like this tribe the best. I think it has the most rooting interest in terms of winning equity. I think spoiler alert, my winner pick is on a different tribe, but I think this has the most potential for players to go far. And I think of this tribe, I think all of them could win if they get to the end. Even Jonathan, I think, could still get to the end, because if he gets to the end, people might respect his strength. So those are the three tribes. Now, let me try to get a cast photo of all of them, so then we can... Oh, no, that's 41. Here we go. There we go. All right. So, Zach, let's count it down. I already told you, my 18th place is Zach.
Oh, I already said my 18th, too.
Oh, it was Jenny.
It's Jenny.
Yeah,
so
because we're expecting that the first challenge, I'm expecting that Taku will win, and then I think Aika will get rid of Zach just because he's weaker, and because I want my last boot pick to also kind of be the pick that for my sleeper winner pick, which is Zach. And then I think Vati would get rid of Jenny. So Jenny is my 17th. Who is your 17th?
My 17 is Swati. My 17 is Swati. Very
so you think Jenny goes booted on Vati and Aika gets rid of Swati. Okay, cool.
I think Swati is my kind of similar to you as Zach is like. I think that she's just going to be someone that they are like, we're probably not going to be able to jive with this girl.
Yeah.
She lacks the experience.
Yeah. 16th, I think, because their tribe is going to lose a lot, and I just don't know where he fits in. I'm putting Romeo there at 16th. I just don't see him going that far in the game, just because I just don't see who he connects with. Who's your 16th?
My 16th is Lydia. Again, kind of similarly to what you just said. Like, I think that she just doesn't I think she's going to have a hard time proving she's not a liability, and it's going to be rough. Followed then by my 15th, who is Romeo. And again, for very similar reasoning that you just said, I just think he's going to have a hard time kind of continuing to place himself in places.
Yeah. My 15th, actually, because I don't think this is going to be a sweep. I think that one tribe is going to lose at least once. And I thought of all that tribe, I think the most vulnerable is Mariah, just because she's a mom type. So I have Mariah going out in 15th. I'm not very confident in that. It's just, if that tribe is to lose, I think it's between Jackson and Mariah. And I think Mariah is going to be someone that they see as more of a liability. So who's your 14th?
Are you ready for my controversial 14th pick?
All right.
It's Mike, baby.
Oh no, dude!
I know I have him a little low, but I just think that it's going to be one of those things where, us New Jerseyans, and we're hot-headed, man. And I think that he's got a really good tribe of people who are not so hot-headed. He's got, who's on that team?
Mike, it's Hai, Chanel, Jenny, Lydia, and Daniel. But you've already gotten rid of Lydia and Jenny at this point.
I see them kind of like in that same realm as like what was happening with Uwa, where all of a sudden they were just losing. And I think that Chanel and Hai are going to be more like, we cannot let this man be our leader and just an accent.
Yeah, at 14th, I have Lydia because I think she could be someone who's a big character in the pre-merge, but goes out right before the pre-merge is over in kind of like that JD spot. That's where I'm feeling for her. Who do you have?
13th, I have
13th.
13. I have Roxroy.
Me too. I have Roxroy as the final book. I see him being like a genie, where it's like that tribe whittles down. Because at this point, I have that tribe being Swati, Tori, Drea, and Roxroy, and I think they just all team up and get rid of Roxroy. He's my 13th. Yeah. Who's your? Okay, so now we're getting into the fake merge where they think they're merged, but then the Sydney twist where Sydney went home. Who do you have getting screwed there in 12th?
Drea.
I do too. I have Drea.
No way.
Yes, I do. Because I think there's a chance that she wins immunity, and then the hourglass twist changes it, and she goes home. That's exactly what I was thinking. Who is your first boot of the jury? Who is going to be your first juror?
I think it's Chanel. Just because she's again, I think it's one of those things where she gets in, and if her and Hai are pretty close, Hai again is strategic, and he's going to be thinking more towards the end game rather than what he's been doing, and he's going to start probably going to work on people, and I think she's just not going to be able to keep up with that.
Yeah.
And 11th, I think that she just...
Yeah, in 11th for me, I put Jackson just because I think Jackson is someone who I think the merge boot, everyone wants to think of the biggest threat, but I think it could be one of those scenarios because Tiffany went home because it was like the backup plan. I could see Jackson being a backup plan as the vote there in 11th place. Now 10th and 9th, if they do the same thing again where they split into 5 and 5, who do you have going out in 10th and 9th place?
10th is Lindsay. 9th is Jonathan.
Wow.
I think they go back to back. I think they go back to back. People go, you got to get out of here now. I think they go, you've got to get out now. Get out now.
See, I think they're prone to winning it because the pool is lower, so they only have a 1 in 5 shot to win immunity. And I think that's where you see Swati go because I think she's just someone who's a wild card. She's young. She's someone who they can easily be like, all right, let's just get rid of her. And then I also have, because of a similar vibe with Evie, where it's like, all right, we need to cut him before he gets any further. I have Hai there. Because I think Hai is I have Hai in 9th because I think if he doesn't go all the way to the end, I think he's got to get cut earlier, and I think this is a place where they would cut him when they have the opportunity. Let's say he's up against 4 people who are aligned with one another, and he's the odd 5th man out. This is the time to get rid of him, like it was Nasir and Evie. Who's your 8th place now?
8th place is Mariah. I think that she's coasted by long enough. Maybe she's been a good asset, but I think that who I have left is a little bit more on the younger side. And I think they're going to be like, goodbye.
In 8th, I have Jonathan. I think this is where his immunity luck runs out. And I think right now, looking at all of them, he's be the biggest threat left. So they get rid of him. Who's your 7th place prediction?
7th place. 7th place. I have 7th place. My God. I have Marianne.
Okay. I think so this is the do or die. Unfortunately,
I think she's just. I think it's one of those things where she just. Yeah. I think she chooses wrong.
I had Daniel there. For similar reasons. I actually have Marianne at 6th, just because I think Marianne is going to be like the audience favorite. She's going to be the one that captures all our hearts. And I just think right before the finale, like Danny went home right before the finale. I think that's the prime spot for like your fallen angel to go. So I think Marianne could be like your 6th place boot right before the finale, and like she has so much reason to come back in the future, but she gets cut right before the finale because last year right before the finale, we lost Shan, Liana, Danny, all these bigger players that we loved a lot and were the most prominent figures. So I think Marianne's going to be a big part of the season, and she gets cut right before the finale. And who do you have?
For kind of similar reasons, I have Tori. I think that she's going to play such a good game all season, and I also just looking at it, she's the only female that I have left at that point.
So you have an all final 5.
I have an all-male final 5, which wasn't on purpose, but even looking at it, I'm like, that does make a lot of sense because I just think that who I have are smart enough players that they're going to say, if you sit next to a woman in the final 5 or in the final 3, unless they were a Heather who didn't do anything, it's just going to be like, we're going to give it to them because you see that a lot. I mean, it's a part of the game. And that's because honestly, nobody likes to see a dude win Survivor, including me. Like, Erica winning was really, really satisfying because it's like, wow, fuck yeah. But like, I just think that these 5 that I have up here are smart, or at least 4 of them are smart enough to know that like that's got to happen.
So we only have one of our final 5 in common, which is very interesting. But I'm just gonna rattle off our final 5s in no particular. I'm gonna go left to right. So Zach still has Zach, Daniel, Jackson, Omar, and Hai. Is that correct?
Yes, it is.
Right. And then in my order from left to right, I still have Tori. I still have Mike Turner. I still have Omar. I still have Lindsay, and I still have Chanel. So who is your 5th place? Who is the first boot of the finale for you? Who is the Ricard of the season?
It's Daniel, man. I think that Daniel's luck runs out right before he can get there, and I think I kind of like what you said. He's like, oh wow, I can't believe that I'm here. Like, that's crazy. Like,
for similar reasons, that's where I have Mike Turner. I think Mike Turner is someone you're going to see at the finale. I really think it's going to happen because I think he's going to be the most prominent character of the season. But I think he's going to be someone not like Ricard, where if you don't get him out, he's going to win. But I think it's going to be one of those things where it's like, it's your time. I feel like he gets 5th place is like a good spot for him, where he could be part of an alliance that they cut at the last minute. So next we move on to fire making. Who loses the fire making challenge and gets 4th place for you?
Omar, man.
Omar. Okay. Omar. Interesting. Omar loses fire making. Okay.
I think it's Omar. And I think it's one of those reasons, again, with who my final 3 are, I think any of them win that challenge and they look at the other, they look at him and they look at anybody else and they go, I can't let you get there. And you got to go out right now. And so I can even tell you who I think he loses. I can even tell you who I think he goes up in fire making too.
Of your final 4, like what scenario plays
so
out?
I think Hai wins that final 4, goes and sees Zach, Jackson, and Omar and goes, Omar, I definitely need out, and I definitely need Jackson out because they have the best story.
So we take
because I think that people are gonna think Zach's a little like, oh, he's done. He's not fucking doing anything.
So he's gonna take Zach, and then he's gonna let Jackson.
And then I think Jackson and Omar go, and I think Jackson beats him, and it's gonna be this like, again, very similar to what we just saw, where it's like, holy shit.
Mm-hmm.
So here's your 4? Who loses?
Final 4 fanfic. I think Lindsay would win because she's the biggest comp threat. I think her and Tori, I could see her and Tori hooking up and being friends in this game. So I think Lindsay would take Tori and let Omar go up against Chanel, because I think Chanel is someone who, if she's not going to win, she's someone here where I'm like, if I'm not predicting her to win, the only other spots I can put her is the do or die or fire making. So I have Chanel going out in fire. I have Omar winning in fire against Chanel. So I have Chanel in 4th because I think if I'm not going to make her the winner, I have to put her in 4th because I don't see her. I really think she has such a high.
She's got no other place. Yeah,
and such a high floor. Like, I really don't see her going home that early because she's just so well rounded. But at the same time, I think she's someone they could get rid of. So my final 3 is in alphabetical order: Lindsay, Omar, and Tori. And you have Zach, Hai, and Jackson. So tell me who gets the least amount of votes in the final 3 and who gets 3rd place.
I think Hai gets the least amount of votes in the final 3.
Wow.
I think he's going to be so out there that, here's the problem is that I don't think he's going to know how to back himself up. Okay. I think he's going to get there and he's going to have no clue. I think what Hai makes up for in strategy and like the way that he analyzes, he lacks in probably passion.
Okay.
And I think when you get there to the end, it is a perfect mixture of strategy and passion that is able to convince a jury why you are deserving of a win. And I just think he's not going to have that heart that they want.
My 3rd place is Lindsay because I think she's going to be someone that rubs a few people the wrong way. I think she has a good shot at getting to the end because I think she could hide behind Jonathan for so long and then could click up with someone like Chanel and Tori and Marianne, these other girls. I think she can make it to the end, but I don't know if the jury would respect her because she is more of a villain of the season. And I'll just finish it out. I think between Tori and Omar, I have Tori from Arkansas winning Survivor 42 because I think she's a therapist, and I've always said I think therapists are the most primed to deal with all sorts of humans in this game, therapists and teachers. And I just think Omar is someone who could come across a little more villainous, And I could see Omar having a really good game, but then having something like a Deshaun downfall where, like, at the end he can't sell himself as well because he is too shady and slimy and strategic, whereas Tori comes across a little bit more authentic. I think that is going to be a close vote, though. I don't think Tori runs away with it, but I think of those three, I think Lindsay would get 1 or 2 votes or 0. Omar would get a few, and then Tori would get like 4 or 5 and win the season. So that's my prediction. I think Tori wins against Omar and Lindsay, and Tori is my winner pick. Who is your winner pick between Zach and Jackson? I'm very, very excited to hear this. Zach, who are you going to pick to win? Jackson or Zach? I wonder.
I know I'm going to regret it, man, but I have this heart. I have this feeling, and I'm just manifesting it. I think that someone who has looked at the whole season as kind of like not a threat, but someone
Zach,
who is
just
seen. It's Zach. I think Zach wins. I think Jackson gets there, and I think Zach has the ability to go out there and say, I started out on the team that had no one for me to hide behind and made sure that I could get here.
Mm-hmm.
And Jackson and High are great, but they had people to either hide behind or they were the people everyone had to rely on. But I made it here, and I think he's going to have, like I said, I think he's going to have that passion and heart.
That's
and
fine,
I just think that maybe I think he is someone who I'm hoping we can see big moves from. Jackson, I don't know if we can see big moves from, but I think Jackson
second place makes a lot of sense because I could see him being someone just people want to align with. But I don't see him making strategic moves, which is why I honestly, of your final three, I would think High would get even more votes than Jackson. But I think Jackson also is likable, so who knows? And he has the story, which is big.
Right. And I think that for me is the other thing is I think Jackson makes it to the end, and I think that that's such a great setup for him to have such a great story. But I just think that in my heart, Zach might have it, man.
That's cool. And the thing is, I purposely knew you were gonna be high on Zach because obviously it's a super fan named Zach, so I knew you would put him high. But I think no pun intended high. But I do think. For me, just saw him and said, I don't know how this kid's going to do. I think he might stick out on his tribe, but the same thing is if he survives a few rounds and goes far, I could see him going to the end. Like an Adam Klein. I know that means nothing to you, but Adam Klein, a very similar player, won the game, came back and made it halfway through on winners. So I think
that's the other thing is that, I thought the same of JD last season, and JD fizzled out quickly. He was my winner pick. But you know what? Again, it's one of those things where when you bet on a kid, it's very difficult. And maybe, you know what? It also truly could be the teacher in me. I bet on kids. I tend to bet younger because you're taught to kind of hope for the best for them. And you remember what it was like when you were a kid and you wanted people to kind of bet on you.
Yeah.
The thing is, based on what I have read about him, I am someone who, like, when I write that way about myself, I trust myself to win. And and I see like the way he writes, the way everybody else writes, I don't see them seeing themselves as the winner. I see him writing and going, I'm the winner of the season.
Yeah.
And I think that's what and maybe the only other person I actually think that of is actually Tori. And I think that's why Tori.
I was going to say, Tori, for me, was like the person I saw myself most in because it's like she's so good with just understanding people and social scenarios, but she's also a goofball and loves to have fun as well. But
that's why I have her going where she is, because I think they are going to know if she's there, they don't have a shot. And it's true, because you would have to bank on a lot happening between 5 and 3 for her to eventually to be able to get rid of her.
I hope you know that realistically, I probably would have Zach going more like where the Roxroy place was, like right before the merge. But because of this game and just because we've predicted, because we both picked Iman Shumpert to be the first boot of Dancing with the Stars, and he won. And then we both predicted Erica to be one of the first 2 boots of Survivor last season, and she won. So I think it makes sense that, like, if
Misha was your first boot and she won.
And Misha I picked to go first in Big Brother and she won. So yeah, I think it's a trend. So like, if I'm putting Zach there, it's more of like I respect him enough to put him there.
I'm with you.
Whereas I don't want to waste that spot on someone that I really don't think has a shot at winning. I think Zach has a shot at winning. It's just I think he has such a good shot at winning
he's got a big hurdle.
I think he could be a threat right away, and I think he's not strong enough that losing him would be any liability to his team. And I think that's a problem sometimes, where someone even like High or Mike Turner you just need a round for strength. So it'll be really interesting.
He has a hurdle. He has a hurdle ahead of him, and I think that's really like again, what I like is that there's a lot of people to root for. I love Zach. I'm actually, and I'm a huge fan of Tori. I'm a huge fan of
even
Marianne,
the Jersey people
like,
who you didn't put Lindsay or Mike Turner that high,
Lindsay,
but
I love them. Like, it's cool, and that's what's hard about the game, especially when it's preseason. You don't know. They've already played the game. It's not like Big Brother where we know what their personalities are, so we're like, all right, cool, we're gonna watch it evolve. This is like it's already happened, so we're kind of seeing what they want us to see, and that's where it's very difficult to determine whether or not things are going to actually play out the way that they're supposed that we would like them to play. I shouldn't say that they're supposed to, but the way that we want them to play out. Because I'm with you. I realistically think Zach's more, but I want him to win.
We both have Omar going to the Final Four, so I think that's cool too. So like, even if we're all wrong, I hope Omar goes far, so we could at least be like, hey, he's cool. He's another player I could see myself playing like. So, and we haven't even seen these people play. So after episode 1, we could all be
things are change,
Jenny is gonna win after episode 1. She could.
We might be like, Lydia's the winner.
Yeah.
What?
And that's something I honestly thought you were going to go so high on Lydia, because Lydia to me reminded me of Evie, and I think you were so high on Evie last season.
Evie had strategy and some other merits to them that I thought that they made sense. Lydia doesn't seem to have a lot going for her aside from her personality.
And again, I'm rooting. I think of everyone I'm rooting for, I'm most rooting for Lydia, Mike Turner, and definitely Tori, and probably the other Jersey in Lindsay, and Omar. Like I think those 5 are like the 5 I'm most looking forward to. And Daniel, I really think this is a good cast, really good cast, nice diverse cast, good in age. It's nice that you put someone like Jackson in your final 3 who's older. I like how I had Mike in final 5. So it's gonna be interesting. So our first boot predictions, we're both predicting Jenny to be unfortunately voted off, and I'm predicting Zach. And Zach is predicting who? Lydia or?
No.
Who's your second boot?
No, I
didn't write it down. I should have.
Swati.
Okay, so we'll see if it's Swati or Zach or someone else, or maybe the other tribe will lose. Maybe Jonathan is our first boot, and it's the biggest shock of the year. Anyway, it is late. Zach and we have our socials down there. You can find us there. Otherwise, we'll see you
also,
next.
I thought about this. If you're someone who I
forgot the recipe for reality thing too.
We do need to do the recipe for reality.
We need to keep up with it.
Well, hold on. I mean, I'm just gonna give it to Gabby's dad. Dad. He wins it.
Yeah,
he's got it.
I'll give it to Gabby's grandpa, because he was
also amazing. Funny. Yes.
Everyone from Gabby's family gets the MVP of the week. But what were you gonna say?
But also, I mean, if you watch, and I hope that one day we have enough viewers to like really say this, but like if you're a person who's watching and you are like Dylan and myself, and you are someone who like waits to apply, like we've both applied for Big Brother, he's applied for Survivor. I'm sure at one point in our lives we will both apply for The Amazing Race, things like that. And you're someone who like gets on, and you started here, like reach out to us and tell us that that's happening for you after you can, once your NDAs are over.
And if you are a Survivor alum or Big Brother alum, or even no one, like let them reach out, because I think it'd be fun to also like maybe talk to some of these players, because also Mike is a Hoboken local. I could easily take the PATH train over to Hoboken and cause a fire.
I'll see when I go to Mayo. But I would never do that. We talk a lot about the games and we talk a lot about the strategy, but we would love to hear from people who like have to play the game and have to have the strategy. So if you're and also they've all got it on their socials. Apply. There's applications are open for Big Brother right now. They're open for Amazing Race. I'm sure they're going to be opening for Survivor soon. Like, get yourselves on there. That the worst thing that can happen is they don't call. So get yourselves going.
And the best thing that can happen is that
you end up there.
Dylan predicts you as the 18th place finisher of the season, and you win.
That's
his track record on the show. Anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching. We'll see you guys next time, where we will talk about the premiere of Survivor, the final 3 fantasy suites of Bachelor, and we will discuss our rankings for the final 16 of Survivor. We'll see you next time. Bye.